hockey in Missouri? Are you kidding me? Today we're speaking with James Arkell, one of the owners of Kansas City's Maverick hockey team. Super interesting podcast. Oh, and he's also the son-in-law of one of the owners of the Kansas City Chiefs, so we get to hear a little bit about their upcoming season. So please take a listen and enjoy. Really great guy. I'm really excited for you all to meet him. James Arkell. James Arkell, happy to have you here on the Ingredients to Happiness podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So you are super involved in Kansas City, and you're so full of energy. You arrived early. I mean,
I took a lot of coffee.
Took a lot of coffee. Well, you know, you seem like a pretty happy guy, and we're really excited to have you on the podcast. People probably know you mainly through the Kansas City Mavericks hockey team that we have here in Kansas City, and maybe talk a little bit about how you got involved with the Mavericks.
Okay. Our family owns a company called Loretto Holdings, and my father-in-law is fairly well-known in sports, and so we had been looking to get involved with something, and hockey was one place that his dad had never really cracked into, and we were actually going to bring another team to Kansas City, and we knew very little about the Mavericks. And then someone said, you know, this team's for sale, you should go check it out. And we did, and we discovered it's amazing. They have this great arena that we called it the best kept secret in Kansas City.
Oh, for sure.
And that was 6 years ago.
I mean, going to a Mavericks game is so fun.
That's what we were talking about. Where else can you scream all that you want and nobody's going to look at you funny?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, maybe we could talk about doing that advertising of, hey, if you want your kids to get a whole bunch of energy out, if you let them scream, lose their voice, go to a Mavericks game.
Well, and part of our job with the Mavericks is educating people on hockey.
Is that hard to do
in
really
Kansas
and Missouri?
Kansas, we have a huge hockey culture, believe it or not.
Really?
We do, because there's a lot of people from out of town. There's a lot of people from Chicago. There's a lot of people from Minnesota, and they've all got, you know, it's the Blues, it's the Blackhawks. They've got their teams. The opportunities weren't as great here, so not as many kids grew up playing it, and it's an expensive sport, so it's tough to get behind. But you know, people don't know much about it. They don't realize that. You know, one of the things we were talking about yesterday, we met with our creative group, and I'm so tired of people saying, when are we going to get a pro team in Kansas City? And it's like, we have a pro team. This actually is pro hockey. It might be minor league, but the guys we have on our team, they go up and down from the NHL. We do development. This is real quality hockey.
And the differential between, you know, the minors and the NHL is got to be so small.
Yeah.
That you're really not seeing a whole lot of skill gap.
We work with the Calgary Flames, and they have been. I mean, our GM's on the phone with them daily. You know, they work hand in hand with our guys to bring guys down to develop. We have one of the best teams in the ECHL on and off the ice.
Yeah.
Players want to come play for us. One of the things that Lamar has done is create a culture there that is, you know, he takes the top-down approach of, we want to make sure that this is the best experience possible for the fans, for the players, and for our employees.
And I think what's really cool is the Mavericks are really involved in the community. You've really entrenched yourself into Kansas City. And can you talk a little bit maybe too about like the charity work that occurs with collaboration with the Mavericks and maybe your sponsors too? But
absolutely. And so going into the purchase of the Mavericks, we already had a foundation, and we worked pretty much anything that involves helping families, strengthening families. That's our core belief. You know, it seems to be kind of something that gets overlooked these days in the generation of, I get what I want because I want to be happy. You know, we need families to be strong. You know, my kids need me to be strong.
Yeah.
But the Mavericks presented a great opportunity to have a platform for working with charities that we were already tied in with. So, you know, we started talking about, you want me to talk about Michael and how
love it.
So a lot of the stuff we work with now, I mean, people in Kansas City are amazing. And you had Deb on the other day, and Deb's a firecracker. I don't know what Kansas City would do without Deb. Every time she comes up on my phone, I think, oh boy, because I can't say no to Deb.
Oh no,
impossible. And she cares so much, and there's lots. I mean, I think that we saw an analysis the other day that there's over 5,000 nonprofits in Kansas City, based out of Kansas City. This is a community that cares, and so my son, Michael, I have 4 kids, and my youngest is 5 years old now, and he was born 7 weeks prematurely. He was at Overland Park Regional in the NICU for 5 weeks, and it was
great place, though.
Unbelievable,
great hospital.
unbelievable. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today if it wasn't for that hospital.
Absolutely.
Because they just, again, a corporation, a corporate community that really cares. They've got a great group of people internally, and then people that work for them, and our experience there was so phenomenal that, again, as fate would have it, like we were talking about, Kansas City's like, there's no 6 degrees of separation. It's 3 at best.
At both, at most.
And, with the Mavericks, HCA is one of our largest sponsors, and so they said, hey, we do this NICU Thanksgiving. We'd love for you guys to be a part of it. And at the time, it was a kind of a grassroots event put on by some former patients, and we said, we not only want to be involved in it, we want to grow it. We want it to be bigger. We want it to, you have NICUs all over Kansas City. Let's just make it, we'll send teams to every hospital with food, and it's just been great. I think we're going into our 5th year doing it. You guys brought donuts out.
Yeah, happy to.
People love to get behind it, and what people don't realize is in these situations for the parents, man, my wife and I, like I said, our world was turned upside down.
Yeah, because it's not something you'd ever experienced before.
Right. Like, what do? You get your nursery ready, and you got the clothes, and then what? Oh, by the way, I need you to prepare for a 7-week premature baby that's going to be in the hospital for 5 weeks. There's nothing for that, right? And luckily there are so many great organizations like Variety and CCBI and all these other. These are ones we work with very, very closely in town to help parents. This Kansas City is. I love this community. I love the food here. Clearly, I love the food here. I love that it's a great sports town. It's just a great place to be. It's a great place to raise kids. It's a great place. I love everything about Kansas City. And one of the things I love the most is how caring the people are.
Yeah, 100%.
We were just in Colorado for a couple of weeks, and my wife and I were wandering around, and we didn't really do a whole lot of anything. And people kept coming up because I always have the Charlie Hustle shirt on or something.
Yeah,
Mavericks represent. Mavericks T-shirts. Thank you for that.
Of course.
And everybody who would stop us would say, Kansas City's great. They love Kansas City. People love
cool?
to come. It is great.
Who would have thought, right?
I don't think people
We're in flyover country. I mean, right?
I guess. I've been on both coasts pretty frequently, and I don't find them that impressive.
I know.
I'd rather be here. I like it here.
Yeah, whenever we travel, we always miss the people.
Yeah.
And there's so many great people here in the Midwest, and not that there's anything wrong with the coast. But
no, it's great. I mean, everybody's got their own. But anyways, back to there is so much great charity work going on here in Kansas City, and so many businesses that help support that, and the Mavericks are a perfect platform for it.
Can we talk a little bit about the more light-sided aspect of what you were wearing during the childbirth? You were in
so we were actually at a charity event called Treads and Threads, and it's I don't remember the exact, it's like formal fun or something like that. So I had on a tuxedo. I had on red running shoes and a red Chiefs tie. And
so the nurses asked you where you were coming from, right?
They didn't just ask. They were confused by my look. My look was not, it was not, and I was probably fairly disheveled at that point because we came in pretty hot. And at the time HCA was under construction, so I mean, I was all over the place.
They're probably like, who is this guy? Tuxedo, running shoes?
Yeah. And I'm running around, and so.
So I mean, the running shoes came in handy.
They helped a lot, and so they put her in a room. I ran home to change, relieve the babysitter, and then get back to the hospital. By the time I got back, she was giving birth.
Wow.
They were literally wheeling her out saying, a baby's coming. And,
oh my goodness.
And he did a backflip out in an emergency C-section.
Wow. And, we had both of our kids at Overland Park Regional as well, and I just can't say enough about them.
Great people. I mean, I don't know. The way we put it is, for what could potentially be the worst time of your life, they do everything they can to make it better.
Yep.
They're there for you. They're, everybody there smiles. They're just really caring people.
Yep, I agree. So what's the future of hockey look like in Kansas City? I know I've seen the paper. You guys have been throwing around maybe adding another team, or
we are adding another team.
Okay.
We bought another team up in Topeka. the Topeka Pilots,
Yes.
and that's in the NAHL, which is high-level junior development. So it's all amateur. These are kids that are going D1, going into the NHL.
So how old are they?
18 to 20.
18 to 20. Okay.
And a lot of those guys from our team right now, the NAHL, one of our captains is up in Russia playing hockey in a international.
Wow.
So we acquired that team. We are getting ready to start work on a new facility as part of the Mentum development out in Olathe. Where we're going to build 2 more sheets of ice and a 4,000-seat arena. And the plan out there is to put another NAHL team. We think it'd be really cool to have one in Topeka and one in Kansas City, create a rivalry, let Lawrence be in the middle.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about.
Kind of like an I-70 series.
Right, exactly. There are a lot of hockey fans in Kansas City. There are a lot of people that
I never would have guessed that.
I wouldn't have either. I had to be educated on everything because I grew up playing soccer.
Yeah.
I grew up playing sports. I did not grow up playing football or anything that required being tough. I was the kid sitting in the field playing AYSO soccer and not really shining at anything. But hockey's a pretty specific sport.
It is, and you have to have an arena. It's not like you can. Well, I mean, I guess you could play. You have to have ice. Yeah. I guess I've watched Mighty Ducks. I know you can play it on roller skates in your backyard. Emilio Estevez.
Pretty much everything I do in my life, I learned from movies or from the show Seinfeld. So
exactly.
if I can't apply one of those 2 things, I don't do it. But
but do you guys also envision more promotion on the youth end, because those people will turn into fans?
Here's the reality.
20 years later.
There's nothing I'd rather see than the NHL back in Kansas City. My father-in-law, all he wants to see is the NHL back in Kansas City. But by the time it gets back here, the market needs to be ready.
So, what happened there? I know we used to have, they were called the Blades.
The Blades were minor league.
Oh, they were?
The Scouts. The Kansas City Scouts played here for about 12 and a half minutes.
When was that?
1974,
Okay, see, I wouldn't even know that.
Yeah, I'm not good with this. See, I told you, I'm married into a family of statisticians that know everything about sports, not just
so
football,
you don't
but
even
everything.
bother keeping up.
I don't even try. I know that's what Google's for. I know that I'm going to be wrong. So it was either 74 or 75.
That's just part of being a husband, too.
Right. Oh, no, the first Super Bowl I watched with my wife, I studied up and I tried to sound smart. And
didn't go well?
She's 4'0", right? And she looks over at me and she says, just sit over there and look pretty. This is my thing. And I thought, good enough. But yeah, there was NHL hockey in Kansas City for 1 year, and it just didn't work out. The market wasn't ready. We'd love to see it back. Kansas City is a great sports town.
So what does that mean for the market to be ready? What factors have to occur?
Well, we've got for this market size, we've got a lot of teams, and you've got to be able to support that team. You've got to be able to sell season tickets.
A lot of professional teams. Is that what you mean?
We have a lot of professional. We've got a lot of amateur. We've got a lot of sports, just all over the board.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that there's a lot of entertainment options in Kansas City. It's not just sports, but
interesting. Okay.
What we found out with our hockey team is that we're not competing with the Chiefs. We're not competing with the Royals. We're not. This is not. They are what they are. They're the MLB. They're the NFL. Right. Yeah. We're competing with people that might be going to the movies. We're competing with people that might be going to the symphony. A family. I am our perfect fan. I have 4 kids. What can I do so I'm not trapped in the house with them for 6 hours on a Friday night, right?
Yeah.
And like we talked about,
yep.
For less than $100, you can bring them all out to the Silverstein Ice Center Arena. They can scream as loud as they want.
Yeah, have an amazing time.
And guess what? If they don't fall asleep on the way home, I'll give you tickets to the next game. That's what that hot. But because of that, there's a lot of different options in Kansas City, right? And when they awarded the team in Las Vegas, they pre-sold 13,000 season tickets. Okay, that's a lot. That's a whole lot for a new franchise, which obviously Vegas can support anything.
Sure.
But in Kansas City, you've got teams that are already currently working really hard to fill the stadiums, and they work really hard to get the sponsor dollars, and all of those things are.
So is it a size thing too, like a population? Because would St. Louis be a good comparison?
St. Louis has had a team for 50 years. You know what I mean? And that's what we've talked about. It'd be kind of like starting the Chiefs fresh.
And obviously St. Louis it's big right now just because they won the Stanley Cup.
They're doing great. They are, and we know all those guys up there, and they've done a phenomenal job. They put on such a great performance up there. They've got a great team. Honestly, we've got about 1,200 kids skating right now in the Kansas City Youth Hockey Association. We need to be up about 10,000.
Interesting.
And we'll get there. I feel we'll get there. One of the things that when Lamar bought the Mavericks, we brought some local hockey guys together and said, what do we need to do to make sure this thing's successful? And they said, you got to organize the youth, which we did under the KCYHA. There were like 9 nomadic clans of, I mean, it was like medieval almost. They were going at each other in the parking lot. It was the parents, not the kids.
It's always the parents.
I mean,
we've all seen that umpire brawl.
No, I was going to say this, Sarah Palin, or talking about hockey moms. I'm like, yeah, right. And then I met him, and I'm like, that is a dedicated fan base. Like, I'm not going to mess with these people.
So where are they going? Where are they playing at?
We have 6 right now, permanent sheets of ice. We're at about 4. There's 2 at KCIC out in Shawnee, and then we have 2 out at Silverstein where the Mavericks play, and then there's 1 over at Carriage Club, but it's not a regulation sheet, and then there's 1 out at Lion Creek that's also not a regulation sheet. But then they have it up in St. Joe, and Topeka has it. You know, there's quite a few people that they have to travel a lot, which is why we're building new ice out in Olathe.
Because that makes sense, and it's far enough away from the Mavericks. I mean, are you guys worried about cannibalization?
I'm not worried at all. I'm not. I think that the team in Silverstein, the Mavericks are the pro team, and this is a high-level amateur team. There's a very different product going into that's in each facility.
So do you envision maybe a different type of fan that would go, or is it?
I mean, honestly, it's me, it's you, it's anybody, and you don't have to. Here's the reality: you don't have to be a hockey fan. You don't even have to be a sports fan to come and have fun. Okay?
Yeah, 100%.
It's fast-paced. You get to yell. We put all kinds of goofy stuff on. I mean, heck, I can let you drive the Zamboni in minor league hockey. There's no, we have a little more flexibility. Absolutely.
Let's do it. We have that on camera.
On tape. That's fine. We'll come on out.
George, we're gonna get a video of me driving the
princess wave while you're doing
I can do
it.
That. I can do that.
But it's a fun environment. It's real laid back, and we've got a great arena out there. And
yeah, it's beautiful.
The idea, and it's going to get even better because the building has added. They just lit up, I believe, yesterday, 2 new 80-foot LEDs in either goal end, and they put new boards on the sides.
80 foot. I mean, you hear like 80-inch TV. Wow, that's big.
It's going to be ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And from what somebody said, and again, I'm going to mess this up, but we may have the most square footage of LED screens in the city at this point because of how big all of those combined are.
Like even more than the Sprint Center.
I don't think they have a whole lot of LED screens.
Okay. Well,
I mean, maybe in the suites, but yeah, but the bottom line is for the facility size.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. Wow. It's going to allow our game ops guys to really, go wild, have even more fun. Because I mean, you've been to the Mavericks. We don't just have hockey. It's not, hey, we need you to come out for 90 minutes and watch a hockey game. What it is you come out and you are entertained.
I would argue those 20-minute gaps are just as big as the hockey game itself.
We have a lot of fun filling those with unique entertainment. That's the most professional way to put it. We've had pork butt bowling with our barbecue sponsor. That's something.
What about and then the driving the cars on the ice.
Yeah, the chuck-a-puck, which is another
you said
charitable
your kids have more fun doing that.
They love it. We drive cars on the ice. I mean, our sponsors are very involved with everything we do. We try to incorporate them in everything back to the charity. Every one of our sponsors is really good about, when we do the NICU Thanksgiving or when we do the trolley run, because we're really involved with that. My son goes to CCBI, which is the Children's Center for the Visually Impaired, and they put on the trolley run.
Yeah.
So we're very tied into that. The team is our mascot, I believe, ran it last year.
Yeah, my wife, she ran it, and I usually pass on those things.
I've walked it the last few years, except when it rained.
I work every Saturday.
Yeah,
I can't run.
I always just say, how about you take the kids and I'll stay.
Yeah, exactly. I try to get out of it. I'm done to shop. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. This is your prime time.
Yeah.
We need to bring everybody here after the trolley run.
We do get a lot. I have to say.
It's tough to get breakfast after the trolley run. I'm down there like hoarding bananas at the finish line because I know I'm not going to eat till we get like outside of a 15-mile radius of the plaza.
Gosh. Yeah. So I mean, it's crazy though. I mean, who would have thought hockey could be so big, and it's growing. I mean,
we want it to grow. It's a fun product, and we're really proud of it. And we just invite people to come out, come check it out. The action you see for the price you pay is really, it's a high value. And we know we're competing for entertainment dollars in Kansas City. So our team out there works extra hard, not on and off the ice. The front office is full of, highly energetic, donut loving.
Of course.
I've actually been here quite a few times because Kimberly, after she introduced us to you, I'll come by and we have a staff meeting every Tuesday. I come by and grab donuts and take them out there.
Love it.
Yeah, hey, you give donuts before a staff meeting, people pay more attention.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Donuts make everybody happy.
They do. Speaking of happiness, I mean, what drives you, what inspires you to go to work every single day, be at home? I mean, I don't care. Professionally, personally, what inspires you and what makes you happy?
You know, I was thinking about, because I had no pre-questions or anything to this.
Yeah, we try not to because we want to keep it.
That.
Everyone has a different motivation.
I mean, here's the reality. We are the least perfect family I've ever met in my life. Like, we are not that Instagram, like, my wife doesn't have kids with chalkboards saying it's the first day of school. And,
I've seen a few of those.
And you know, like these people, I feel like, and to each his own, I don't judge anybody, but we just try to be genuine. Like, you know what? I don't want to work really hard to look happy. I'd rather try to be happy. And when Michael was born, we had no idea what we were in for, right? And he was about a year old before we even knew that he has a rare genetic condition. There are 12 kids in America that have it. 12. So we go to the hospital. You know, he's in and out of the hospital. Christmas, all these times. It's just traumatic for us and our other children.
Sure.
Because there's no continuity. They're missing birthday parties. They're missing things because we're constantly taking Michael to the hospital.
Yep.
And at first they thought it's because he was premature. I'll do this real quick. They realized it was more than just being a preemie. So they wanted some testing done. I call my doctor. He calls a friend of his who's a geneticist named Jean-Baptiste Lebachon. He is here from, he's a French prodigy. He has been at MD Anderson. He's been at Mayo. He's been everywhere. And so my doctor calls him. He meets us at Children's Mercy downtown. He was there doing study, because it's an education and research hospital. And he takes over. And so Michael stays in the hospital for 3 days. They draw so much blood that he had to stay. And I mean, we're a wreck. We're a complete mess because they're telling us a wide range of things, none of them good. Yeah. And so we go back, I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks later, and I'm vomiting in the parking lot. And so he gives us the news and he says, it's this. It doesn't even have a name. It's like QV. I mean, it's just, it's
one
ridiculous.
Of those just like
right?
scientific labels,
And he says he'll never walk, talk, or see. And we're like, okay. And he says, I discovered the first case of this in America, and I wrote my doctoral thesis on it. And it still sucked. Can I say that? I mean, it still was awful, but it's like,
but then you got an answer.
What are the odds that it was like winning the lottery? Because if it hadn't been
12,
him,
12 people. I mean,
this guy, there could not be anybody in the world more educated and equipped for our situation at that time, and he just happened to be here, and it just threw a serious. Again, we talk about a small town, but I don't believe in coincidence. No. And ever since that day, I mean, he's using Michael as a case study because this is the youngest they've ever diagnosed it, I believe. I'm getting it all wrong, I'm sure, but not the part I just told you. But my wife is the one that we call them the 12 apostles. And there's one in Denver. Her name's Maggie, and my wife's become really close with her mom, and she goes out, and it's a really supportive community. But coming back to what you asked me about, what Michael forced us to reevaluate pretty much everything we do in our lives. Yeah. And we were always on the move. We were always in the car. We were always going to a charity thing or a sports thing and what we realized was that that's not important. No. I know how I could feel members of my wife's family going when I say that's not important, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is family is important. And we don't know how much time we have with Michael. I don't know how much time I could get hit by a bus walking out of here, right? But that's what, and I fall down every single day, but I have a lot of really good people in my life that I try to come back to, like, okay, keep it simple. My job is to be a good husband, a good father, and a good employee, and I'm lucky that with our companies, I have crazy ADHD, so I'm always on the move. I'm always on the move. I'm always doing something different, and I'm so fortunate that because of what we do, I'm allowed to work with charities. I'm allowed to work with some sports teams. I'm allowed to pull these things together. I have a lot of room to go do good things thanks to the connections that we have.
And do you feel like you've maybe progressed with each child that you've even had? I mean, that's how I feel. I don't have a case extreme as Michael, but having a boy and then having a girl, like it just.
They're all, everyone's unique, everyone's different.
It's really a progression.
We couldn't have had Michael first. Had we had Michael first, because my wife's the oldest of 7, I'm the oldest of 2. So I was not, I'm the, they get a boob, or are we going to the hospital? She's like, no, stop, idiot. Go sit down. I'm going to put a Band-Aid on it.
Mm-hmm.
With each child, I've slowed down, and I've gotten a little, now it's just like, are they really hurt? Is that a cry or a laugh? So had it not been for that progression, as you put it, Michael would have been, I wouldn't have been ready to handle it. But each kid, and speaking of each kid is unique with but the way that they have reacted to Michael and everything they've got.
They've had to do a lot of growing up themselves.
Absolutely. And you know what though? I know everybody says this, but it truly, I wouldn't change it for the world. I really wouldn't. It's heartbreaking at times. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
There's conversations we have to have that no parent should ever have to have. I'm not, and we don't feel sorry for ourselves at all, because I've got friends who go through way worse, and I've got, this is just what our particular situation is. But the growth in my children, the caring, the empathy, the things that, they're 11, 9, and 7. Like the stuff that they do the trolley run every year. They run down and come back to dad. They run down and come back to dad. I'm walking. I'm getting winded,
you're taking your time. Yeah.
But, and again, all the people in Kansas City and all the opportunities here your company, you did that. You brought donuts out to help some. You don't know what that means to parents when, the look on my face when I hear this is, we have what? He's never. And to be fair, the school that he goes to, all the community in Kansas City, he can see. He's starting. It's not.
What's his current status? Has he made progress?
He's in a wheelchair. His progress has been unbelievable. Right? It's better than any kid in his situation, but it's still. He doesn't talk, but he laughs, man. He laughs.
And
his life is so
incredible.
Simple. Yeah, like I said, we were just in Colorado, and the other 3 were at camp. And it was just Michael, Sarah, and I wandering around the mountains. We didn't do anything. We just walked around. We drank coffee and ate donuts, and then we walked around. And then we drank coffee, we ate donuts, and then we ate lunch. And then, it was really. And he laughs. We live in an odd time. I've told my friends I couldn't grow up as a kid right now. I couldn't imagine. They're bombarded with so much stuff.
Information overload.
Exactly. Yeah. And I had being connected, having to be a part of everything, making sure that you're, it's exhausting.
It really is. Lots of pressure, for sure. Everything just seems more amplified, I guess, would be a simplistic way of looking at it.
Yeah, nobody wants to wait for anything anymore. It's instant gratification.
I think we're both similar in the fact that we get to utilize our inspiration not only with our family, but in our professional life. We both get to do something about things that are important to us, and the charities are a big part of that. So I know with Variety you've done a lot of work with, and so what's some of the things with Variety that you've done? And I'm sure your son has definitely been a factor there.
Well, at Variety, we got connected to them through Michael. A lot of what we do now is connected through Michael. So he's opened the door up to, I've joked with people, he's never said a word, but he's touched more people than anybody I know, and affected and impacted them. And so Deb awards us this car called Go Baby Go. And it's like those little drive around your driveway, Jeep things. All my other kids had one, and Deb, my wife, says, hey, this group wants to give him a car. And I'm, of course, skeptical, because we have a family foundation. I get 14 requests a day for money and everything else. So I said, oh, what's the deal? Are we buying it? And she says, no, it's free. I'm like, no.
Nothing's free, right?
Well, not only that, but I just said, we need to buy it, or we need to make sure some other kid's not going to get passed over or something. We try to be pretty aware of all that stuff. And she's like, no, they've got extras. They want to give it to him. This is a one-of-a-kind thing. So we go down there, and I'm looking around, and all these people are so happy. And Deb, and I watch Deb, she's like, pew, 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 pew. And she's just amazing. And all these kids are like, they're similar to Michael, and they're all smiling. And all my kids want is to be able to do stuff with their brother, right? Mm-hmm. And so I went out to my car, I got one of my business cards, and I came in and I couldn't find Deb. I just couldn't find her, and we'd already loaded up the car, and so I was like, all right.
I would run through a brick wall for that woman.
Oh, I know, me too. And so then I started to leave, and I pulled back around, And my son was with me. I was like, let's go. My other son, the 9-year-old, and I was like, let's go try to find this woman. And we found her and gave her the card. And that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
the end of ever saying no to dad.
Yeah.
And
it's
since
impossible.
then, she convinced us to be part of, we bought 30 adaptive sleds. So we have an adaptive hockey league now that the team sponsors, and we do a thing called Skating is for Everyone through Variety, and that's out at Silverstein, and the Parks and Rec from Independence were a big part of that.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. You know, we take them out, and the coolest thing is watching the siblings with their siblings, right? My son loves pushing Michael around. He loves to be a part of that.
So yeah, I mean, I won't leave you without harassing a little bit about the Chiefs.
I told you need to have my wife on if you want to talk about that.
Oh my
sport.
gosh, I know, I would love to.
And she likes to talk about donuts too.
Oh, perfect.
She's a big breakfast
Chiefs and
person.
donuts. Let's do
Chiefs
it.
and donuts. That sounds like a winning combination.
Do you guys feel a little different this year? I mean, is there some excitement going on at home?
I think that all of the pieces have come together for a great season.
Cautiously optimistic.
It's, you never want to get in the way of anything, but if it was a Magic 8 Ball, we were at a friend's house. My kids had never seen a Magic 8 Ball before. Like among the things they'll never see, a Magic 8 Ball, a VCR, a corded phone. And they were just enamored with it. And if I had a Magic 8 Ball and I asked them about the Chiefs, I think it would say all things are pointing up.
That's great.
I think that we've got the best team we've had in years, and we've got everybody in the organization. As a matter of fact, I was talking to someone from the front office on the way over here. The Chiefs do so much with charity in the community as well.
They do.
And they've got
lots of respect.
Everybody there is like family. Sarah's grandfather was obviously Lamar Hunt, and that's my wife, for those who don't know on the podcast. He loved people. Everywhere we go, somebody comes out and has a story about meeting him in an airport. Like apparently he was always in the airport, and he pushed
busy
that.
Guy.
Yeah, well, exactly. And he pushed that through to his family, and that in every part of the Chiefs, it's a true family. And my father-in-law, who's Lamar Hunt Jr.,
so much,
they all care so much, and they just push. They couldn't be more connected to Kansas City, and I think everybody at One Arrowhead Drive is extremely excited for the year ahead.
Absolutely. Well, what's next for the Mavericks?
We're getting ready to start the season. Like I said, the fan experience is going to go up. We got to the playoffs last year. We had a bit of a rebuilding team. We swapped out coaches.
I mean, to get to the playoffs and be rebuilding, that's pretty good.
We're pretty excited with the hockey out there. That's why I said it. I'd love to get, we always ask people, just come out. Just come buy some tickets. Come take a look at it. I have yet to have anybody say that was boring. I've yet to have anybody say they didn't have a great time. I'm sure they're out there. Now I'm going to have all these people reaching out to you to try to get a hold of me to say that they didn't have a great time, but
no, that's
I
not
doubt
true.
it. No, yeah.
Actually, it's funny. Episode 2 of our podcast, we had on a kid named Brendan, 2-time cancer survivor, 6 years old. One of his favorite things to do, go to the Mavericks games.
Awesome.
So you guys really are touching all sorts of people.
Well, and that's a neat thing about what part of that education process is. These guys, they're not just athletes. A lot of them are Ivy League graduates. A lot of them, they're highly educated, well-spoken, big members of the community. Every week they're in schools. Every
so they're
week
not
they're
just
doing
like
stuff.
some lumberjack from northern Canada.
That's what you expect is like from Saskatchewan with no teeth that just comes down. No, these are guys that care, and they do just as much off the ice as they do on the ice.
Yeah,
and that's
so there's
really
purpose and intent there.
Yeah.
That's great.
So,
James Arkell, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Hey everyone, if you liked what you saw, please hit the subscribe button. Also, you can find us on social media in the links below. Thank you.